In 1995, I left the father of my 2 youngest children. He wasn't a nice man, but I didn't have any place to go. I moved from house to house, wore my welcome out, slept in a car.
You kind of become aware that things aren't normal, right? Your mom is, and I hate to say at the time, she was just maybe not there.
Addiction started getting worse. It was just what I turned to. I woke up one morning, saw my 3 children sitting there, and my first thought was, no wonder the kids of drug addicts grow up to be drug addicts. That's what they know. Drove him to my brother, told him I needed help, and my brother opened his arms.
You know, in hindsight, that was probably one of the best decisions she's made for us.
I spent 17 months in Texas Department of Corrections. I was released on my first parole. I got to come home July 3rd, 2000.
Man, the best thing you can do for addiction is just get away from it for a while. I know that's not the answer, but it certainly did work for her.
In October of 2000, after sleeping on my parents' chair, I went to another organization that offered help for individuals. I hadn't worked for 10 years. Been in prison for 17 months. I'd been addicted to drugs for 10 years. There was no way I could go get a job making $15, $20, $25 an hour. I did not have a Texas state ID, I didn't have a driver's license, whatever you want to call it, and I didn't have a social security card. So imagine, you know, went to the driver's license office, I'm sorry, can't get your driver's license without a social security card. So off to the Social Security Administration I went. Well, you can't get your social security card without some form of legal ID. Okay. It took me about 6 weeks to get my birth certificate, and then with my birth certificate I got to go get my social security card, and then with my social security card I got to go get my driver's license. So yeah, it was a good 2.5 month, 3-month process. You know, I got released on July 3rd, and I always thought that was kind of appropriate, you know, Independence Day, right? And my brother, who of course had completely taken in my children, he and his wife, from the time I asked him to until I was ready to bring them home. He was actually taking everyone to the lake and in the boat, and I was really nervous. I mean, scared, like scared. And so were my kids. You know, we kind of talked a minute, and you know, I kind of sat on one side of the boat and they sat on the other, and they played with themselves, you know, skiing, and we didn't really communicate that much. So he was a senior when I got out, and got to go to the pre-presentation before graduation and do the honor cords. I got to put them around his neck. I was so proud, and I was so happy he wanted me to do that. I was home. My mom and I were talking. She said, you know what, let's go to Goodwill. We'll get you some interview clothes. I remember coming with my mom that first day. It was hard to find clothes for 2 reasons. I didn't have the money, and I'd worn a uniform for 18 months. So as I was getting out of the truck, someone stopped me and she went, hey, don't I know you? And I kind of looked at her and I was like, yeah, I think you do. Is your name Cheryl? Girl, yes, I am. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm home. We had met in prison, so she was in some of the groups with me. She said, you know what, you need to come to Goodwill. Answered some questions, did some computer tests, and the next day they called and offered me a job. It is hard to have a criminal background. It's society's somewhat unforgiving at times. In 2014, I couldn't rent an apartment. It'd been 15 years. 15 years since I had been released from prison, successfully completed my parole, And I still today cannot rent an apartment.
And what's your relationship with your mom like now?
Now it's, I mean, to be honest, it erases all of the years that I had.
It's so good now that I just don't remember what I had or what we went through 20 years ago.
It's wonderful. And we travel, we goof off, and we do all kinds of stuff. Everything a family would do.
I have 2 beautiful grandchildren.
She's just there, right? And that was maybe something I didn't have back then, but my kids definitely have it now.
In 2005, I was offered an opportunity to transfer to retail. You know, Goodwill, they let me take my time.
Individuals that learn about Beth and her story are inspired. It offers them hope. And at the end of the day, that's all everyone really needs is a little bit of hope.
I want everybody to be able to stand up and go, look at me today. I'm thankful for Goodwill because Goodwill opened the door. But now they give me an opportunity to help others one day find their full potential.
If I had anything to say to my mom, to be honest with you, is to not worry about that anymore. It's the past, and that we're going to do really cool things together, and our family is stronger for her being there, and I mean, we love her.
I'm thankful that Beth is my go-to if we're ever in dire need or working on a project. She definitely is someone you want on your team to get the job done.
I hear it was hard to talk about me.
It is hard to talk about you. She's very dedicated. She's very passionate about Goodwill and everything that Goodwill stands for. And I don't think I've ever met anyone that has really been that passionate before. She's the first one that will come into my office and say, Rosemary, whatever it is you need me to do, I'm on it.